Hi, this is Sue from the Mountain Canary Company. Ed would like to visit with you about meeting people on the trail. Go ahead, Ed.
Good. Hi, folks. Thanks very much for coming by, friends. You know, I'm not adverse to talking on some very uncomfortable subjects for some folks. Toilet paper, treeless saddles, you name it. I'll even have more of them. But this one is kind of an uncomfortable subject from the beginning. I really have had a tremendous amount of experience meeting people on the trail while I'm riding and with my pack string. Single person meeting, riders meeting people on the trail, group rides are really tough, meeting people on the trail. You don't have any idea what anybody's going to do. I've met so many people, I just don't even care to try to give you a number. I do know that I've had as many as 100 people a day I've passed on the trail coming out of, say, Staircase. On a hot summer's day, on a weekend. The example is Sue and I were packing some biologists in on a weekend. I took the weekend because they wanted me on a Monday. I had a Monday. They wanted me to do it on a Monday. Well, I had a Wednesday job for a trail crew, and I didn't want. I needed an extra day or two to get everything back in order, and I didn't want to go too much top to bottom on it. So we got in there. We loaded the biologists up and headed in. Well, the parking lot was plugged, and they put up traffic cones so that there was an area for me to put the horse trailer in. So we got in there, headed up the trail. I was about 3/4 of the way to where I was going to dump them off, and where they were going to float the river and count fish or whatever. And I got a call on the radio from the ranger at the ranger station if I'd drop everything I had and come back and pick up a litter and then haul in to go in to take and to get a lady out that had busted her kneecap in at 11.5 miles from the trailhead, so I had that distance to go to. So to do that, I had stopped exactly where I was. There was no good place at that point. You just took what you had. Barely had enough room to single one mule around. And but by golly, here comes all these people down. And I was forced to stop people at this end and stop people at that end. And I had, by the time I was done unloading, getting the packs, get the units all put back together, getting everything recensed and ready to go on my butt in the saddle, I had about 25 people at both ends standing there waiting. So you just take it to your head how many people I could pass in a day. Well, that's another story for another day. But the thing about it is, one of the problems I have found is that having taken a real good course years ago in college called Management Communications, I realized that you had to be able to you have a subject and you had to be able to bridge from one group of people to another group of people across that subject. And that's been probably the most valuable course I ever took in my life in college. It's paid off for me in whole kinds of different ways. It's been a real key changer in my psyche and philosophy on things. So that's always helped me in that world, especially in that world. Now that's the world I'm in now, and that's helped me a lot in that world. Instead of dealing with a disgruntled citizen, my crew as a fire officer, getting in between that whole situation and making sure I didn't impact someone else who would be my employer, the city, for example. Well, now in our world, let's go back to you sitting in your butt in a saddle and running across a group of hikers. Now you're in the same situation I was. Your actions or reactions will have the same impact that my actions would have had on my employer, the city, or in the taxpaying public. So, but your difference in your situation is you're going to impact me. Your actions are going to impact me. I'm going to be painted with the same brush you're going to be painted with. And however I respond out there on the trail with people, you're going to be painted with that brush. Because whoever those people see again, after they've had an interaction with us, or you, is how they're going to view those people. That's a pretty heavy burden to be carrying, and especially when you consider a couple things. Your hikers don't necessarily know what to do when they meet you. And you don't necessarily know what to do when you meet them. Now, I'm not trying to put you down. I know I'm talking to a varying group of people here. Some of you have lots of experience, some of you have no experience. So in the worst case scenarios is where I have to go with this. So I'm going to talk to the people without any experience, in hopes that some of the things I tell in this little get-together will help the very experienced people to make a step even further in that level of their experience. Let's take a look at the hiker. You hear all these rules being thrown at him, and a lot of times right from the seat from somebody standing in front of him. You got to get off the trail. You got to do this. You got to do that. And usually the rider's voice is harsh. They're not friendly. They're harsh. And I've seen this in the eyes and the faces of so many hikers. When I run into them, they look at me like, oh, now what do I do? And then they look past me and they got all these animals behind me and a drag rider. That might be 7, 8 animals. Now what do I do? Now they're gearing up to try to do something positive. To something, but they don't know what to do. Even though you've been given all these orders, get off the side, go do this, do that. No, it ain't going to work. And the reason we have these gruff orders coming from people in the saddle is normally because they don't know what they're doing either. Or they're angry. Now, angry, they're raising their voice angered. Well, anger is based in fear. They're not in charge of this. They are not stepping up and taking charge of it. They're in fear. They don't know what to do. They may be out there on this horse that shouldn't be out there, riding around, a little bit nervous. They may not be. They may be challenged by the fact they're up in the air, moving around, and not having command of the environment, and looking around them where there's pokes and things, and cliffs and water crossings, and they're trying to grow into this environment. Now, I can say it right, grow, and yet they've got to go through this, so they have to be conditioned to it. Well, their animals have to be conditioned, or maybe the animal isn't conditioned yet. So we've got all these variables. Really a tough spot. I'm not making light of it for you. It's not something that should be taken lightly in any way, shape, or form. So it could be a very, very stressful situation. And at times I wonder why more people don't give up trail riding because of it. And so how I've dealt with this is several fold. One of the things is, it dawned on me after a while that I'm coming across somebody with no experience. I've got experience. So having gone back and leaned back on my past life, I can take command. So I take command of the situation. I will take my riding mule, if it's possible. First thing I walk up and see folks coming at me, I'll holler to my crew back there, we got hikers. The next thing I do is I try to find a way to stretch my smile is from ear to ear. I smile as big, it almost hurts I smile so big. And the next thing I say when I get so, howdy folks. I stop my riding mule, I turn a jigger sideways in the trail, and I command the space. Politely, very politely, friendly. Boy, I hope you all are having a wonderful day. And then I explain that where we are, what we have to do. We have to get by you safely. That safe word is like a salve to a sore. It carries a lot of positive weight. And I said, folks, I got to get by you. Can you work with me in getting you by? I don't want anybody getting bumped I don't say stepped on or kicked or nothing. Bumped. I don't want anybody getting bumped. I don't want anybody getting hurt. So here's how I see it, because I'm above you. Here's how I see it. If you'll do, then I give instructions. Well, if you walk back over there and step off a little bit, you kind of crowd back a little bit, get clear of the trail, and that hiking stick, if you would please, put it off to your side or behind you. Some animals get a little bit of, and I go into a good little class with it there. And then as we go up to them, I'll come up and I have a little mantra that works wonders. I'll figure out whoever's last mule. And we'll say it's Rosie. And as I'm coming up to the folks, I'll tell them, you do me a big favor? And they go, yeah, well, now I'll engage them in supporting me. Now we've engaged in a project. I've introduced myself, I've told them I care about them, I've given them a project, something to do. Instead of standing there looking down, something to do. Instead of telling them to talk to the animals, I don't do that. I said the last animal up there, coming up, his name is Rosie. When you see her coming up to you, she's a little bit nervous of hikers. Will you please say, good girl, Rosie? And as I go along and pass these people, after I've told them this group, all I hear is, good girl, Rosie, good girl, Rosie, good girl. Little Rosie's going, huh, how'd they know I'm back here? But the thing is, I've engaged them and asked them to do something positive. So they don't just say, oh, talk to the horses, talk to the mules. That doesn't mean a damn thing. You've got to give them the words. It works. I roll by, and I thank you very much, folks. Give them a big thank you very much. And I got my drag rider saying thank you. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the park. Wonderful to see you out here. Great weather. Off we go. Rattle off. And then now that is a positive experience for them, for you. It's safe for them. It's safe for you. The rules that get all kinds of rattled around is the hikers have to leave the trail to the bottom. Well, I've got a lot of spots. I don't know where I wouldn't step off the trail if some guy come clobbering around there on a horse tells me to step off the trail. I'd tell him to go fly. No way. You can get them above you. You just get them above you so that they know, the animals know you're there. I've had to cross people in tight spots where there was no place for them to go. I've run across a lady pushing a stroller with a baby in it, 5 miles from the trailhead. She was camped back in there. And there was no place even to turn the pack string around. I was forced to step off and say, ma'am, you're going to have to go back because you can't go by me and I can't go by you. It's probably safer for you and that little pumpkin in your stroller to head back. And I got off, took the lead rope and wrapped it around the horn on Maudie, picked up Maudie's reins, and walked off behind her, keeping me between her and the baby in the pack. There's been tons of things that we've seen. I went into one morning, the old business. This communication thing is critical, but sometimes it just physically won't work. I mean, physically won't work. One morning, real early, I was headed into Upper Duck and got a real good early start, like 6 o'clock in the morning or so. Really rare. Got rolling out of the trailhead, and I was going to meet the rest of the trail crew at 9th Stream, pick their stuff up and pump it over the hill. And I'm going along, and I wasn't 150 yards through, 250 yards out of the trailhead, and it closes in with a lot of salmon berries and such, and it hadn't been cut back, but it was really a real tight corridor going through there. Nothing's going to hurt you, but just tight corridor, soft brush. I'm going along, and I see 2 folks who must have been camped there, walking back. They'd taken an early morning stroll. I'm going along, and stopped, did my little thing. Howdy, folks, how are you doing? They just stood there and smiled. They stepped off into salmon berries, which was good, but I was running some pretty good sized loads. My garbage cans were a little bit stuck out a little further on the edges, and they stepped back into salmon berries, and I went, it'd be much safer if they'd come over here and step in this little hole right here. So I said, would you mind coming back over here and stepping over here? They just smiled. Just stood there smiling at me. I was, what's going on? And next thing you know, they're walking at me. Walking right at me. Oh, what's a minute? Oh, howdy, folks. Just a minute here. Just a minute. Just a minute. What are you doing? And next thing you know, they're crawling through the pack string, because the pack string is wadded up in this stuff. They're crawling through the under the animals' heads, throwing lead ropes over, walking through, throwing lead ropes over. My heart's just stopping. And as they come to the mule, I say, well, hey, Polly, wake up, Polly. It's people. It's okay, Polly. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm naming the mule as I go through by there. Finally, when the lady goes by me, I said, do you speak English? She smiled, beat up the big toothy smile, said no. So, you know, but what got me by with that was I was still in command of the mules anyway, and I wasn't upset. I wasn't throwing a fit. My mules knew that I wasn't upset, and they were just people. And it just, fortunately, I have wonderful animals, and that one day they paid off. And that same day, a little further up the trail, we were in a real tight area again, with a real high bank and a real old cliff off one side. And I ran into a hiker with a big pack on his back, and as I come up to him, I said, "There's no, can you?" I said, but I could see where he could crawl up and be above us on a bank. I said, "Sir, would you mind getting up there and just, you know, say 'Good girl Rosie' as these guys go by?" And I'm talking to him. I'm getting him talking, so the mules are seeing him. So he did. We rattled by. They didn't even look at him. They just kind of rattled on by. They were in the groove, going to work. So the thing about it is, all these rules that say the hikers have to go here, they got to go there, that's all, as far as I'm concerned, a bunch of malarkey. You have to look at, someone has to take charge of this. And you have to look at the safe zone you're in. You have to look at a safe zone for them. First you have to take, if you want to communicate with these people so that everybody gets by safely, you have to worry about their safety and their comfort. And you have to keep your ducks in a row. So the best thing is stop. You don't have to charge back. If you're in a group ride, you tell everybody, I'm stopping for a minute. Take charge. And with a group ride, you've got a whole bunch of people with all kinds of different skills and all kinds of different attitudes. And you know, let me explain what a group ride is like for a horse or a mule. And you take it and you put it together. At classes, I've been asked a lot of times, you know, how mules and horses think. So the group ride was a good thing. I came up with this. A group ride is like when you were a teenage boy, and if you flip it to be a teenage girl. And in my vintage, when you took your first gym class around 14 years old or so, in high school, not junior high, but in high school, the coach, after you got all sweaty, you headed back for class, the coach says, hit the showers. He didn't mean with your skivvies on. He meant jump in there naked and take your gosh darn shower. So as you walked around the corner, expecting to be in a room with a bunch of naked guys, when you walked around the corner, you realized, oh my God, this is a co-ed shower. Oh my God, can you imagine the shock would happen as a 14-year-old boy or a 14-year-old girl to that effect? And that's the effect that a mule or horse has in a group ride. They've got all kinds of different postured situations, sexual positioning, all kinds of different attitudes. When you put a bunch of new horses and mules together, you have that kind of a disconnect of the brain. So that's where you've got to really be, if you're in front there when you run across these people, where you've got to really be willing to take command. And the last thing you want to do with any of these environments is to lose your cool. That means not, you can't get, you got to be raised above being afraid. And you have to raise yourself above being afraid. Now what happens when you're afraid? What happens when you're you get a fear position in you? Anger comes up. It magnifies itself. Now if you're riding a horse or a mule that's new and they're misbehaving and you're trying to control them, if you're not used to this environment with cliffs and snags and water crossings and rocks and them spooking at things, well, that's tough. But that's part of that game. And so if you lose your cool, you lose the opportunity to safely again, communicate with the people you're going to meet on the trail. Example of this, I was coming out of the Dosey Wallops on, it was on 9/11, 2001, and it was raining like the heck. And I was sweeping up the valley. I had taken up all the extra stuff. We had a ranger camp in there, and I was pulling out all the stuff from that ranger camp. And I'd been in there overnight. And, I had a guy helping me, and as usual in those days, I'd throw the guy helping me ahead of me, so I could keep track of him down the trail. Let him get a little ahead of me, because he had troubles. It wasn't behind me. I could stop to help him. It wasn't, I had to turn around to help him. I may not even known about it. So I was going along, and I'd say it was raining like a Dickens. And I came around this corner, it was kind of tight, a dark spot. And here's a guy standing under a bushy tree right next to the trail. And he's got an umbrella. I says, "Oh, howdy." He says, "Hi, how you doing?" I says, "Oh boy," I said, "that looks like a really good idea." And I said, "Just, say something to Rosie when she goes by," type of thing. And we rattled on by. The mules didn't care. We just rattled right on by. Well, I got down the trail, and my helper had a little trouble on his pack. I stopped, he says, "Did you see that guy up there?" I said, "Yeah, I did. Yeah. Nice. Seemed like a nice fellow." He said, "I met him on the trail, and I telling him to shut that blankety-blank umbrella up and get off the trail." And I started, and you know what he told me? He told me to go to hell. Now, there we are. Here we have a situation where the fellow I met wasn't the same fellow he met, yet they were. It was all in my attitude and his attitude. Now, so the thing is, if you are in charge of you. If you can't be in charge of your animal if you're not in charge of yourself. I have found meeting people on the trail, I have yet to have, what do you think? I've had one or two irritating moments. I've yet to have a bad moment, a really bad situation where it went south. I refuse to have it. I refuse. Won't have it. Nope. I'll stop, get off, and sit down on a rock next to him and talk to him. Did that once. I did that once. I was riding on a trail, and I just seen a sign that had warned about cougars. I just met a family. It wasn't in the park. I met a family with a little boy about 5 or 6 years old, and Dad was packing a little toddler, and Mom had a little pack on her back. They were going in for a picnic, and I asked him, load up, and I asked him. I said, "Howdy, did you see the sign about cougars? I want to warn you." "Oh no, we didn't see that." I said, "Well, there's been some cougar sightings in here." I said, "Not to warn you if you thought to think about how you getting larger and having a stick with you, or if you don't have a gun, and so forth." And that's about the time little boy pops up to me and says, "Yeah, Dad doesn't like your horses on the trails. They poop." Oh my God, poor Dad. He's trying to crawl. He's trying to crawl into his hands. He's going, "Oh God." And that's about the time I said, "Oh really?" And I stepped off. I didn't talk to Dad. The little boy's engaged me. So actually I stepped off, held my horse, ran a horse, held my horse, sat on a log there. So now, tell me about that. The little boy, "Dad, he's trying to find a hole to bury himself." I said, "Well, these trails are right here." I said, "Why you could get around them and past them is because a lot of the folks like me have been up here working and cutting these trails out and cleaning them up for you." I said, "So really," I says, it's very natural for horses to take a poop. The elk take a poop up here. The bears take a poop." I said, it's just hay, and it goes away real quick." I said, "But those are my initials on the trail. Letting you know I've been up here working." "Oh," he said, "Oh," and so that was. I have got off, but the thing is, what I want to get after is, please, this think safety. And when you come into run into hikers, realize that they're up there to have a good time, just like you are. Nobody wants you to get hurt. You don't want them to get hurt. So when you talk to them, always emphasize, "Howdy, folks," and then find some way to move them to tell them you're looking for a way for them to get by them safely. Use that lean, beat the stuffings out of that word safe, and you'll have a good day. Okay, thanks folks for coming by and visiting with me. And as always, Sue, did I cover everything?
You covered a lot.
Okay. So, okay, folks, remember, ride as often as you can, and please ride safely. Thank you very much.